About Phil Hudok et Alia. October 2, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. It's another flap over nothing, and for the same reason all the other progress has always gone nowhere. As David Straight teaches, you have to have status and standing and jurisdiction. He is telling you all the same thing I have been telling you for 20 years or more. So now you have two people standing up and telling you the truth, and you have all these other people like Phil Hudok and NLA still running around in circles and encouraging you to do the same. Get a clue. I could go get an arbitrator to agree with me any day of the week, but it wouldn't matter. Why? Because if I were Phil Hudok, and hadn't done my paperwork, I wouldn't have status or standing to complain. I wouldn't even be party to the contract. A sharp arbitrator would know that, but he found someone who wasn't up to speed. So, if you didn't recognize the situation, as his arbitrator didn't, and as arbitrator, you sided with him, guess what? Neither one of you would have jurisdiction. As a result, none of this goes anywhere. It's not enforceable. Why? Because you have to have what? Status, standing, and jurisdiction. By going through all the turkey trot to declare yourself an American state national eligible to serve as an American state citizen, you establish your political status. Now you join your state assembly and become recognizable as a state citizen, and therefore one of the people, and also therefore a party to the federal constitutions, able to enforce those contracts. Now, you have standing, too. Just by doing what you have already done as part of the American States Assembly effort, you have established status and standing to enforce the constitutions. Now, you have to establish jurisdiction. So what is your jurisdiction? Answer: land and soil jurisdiction, plus, the undelegated, reserved powers in the international jurisdiction of the sea that are the subject of Amendment X. All that is yours and all that stands under American common law. Now, finally, you have what it takes to go forward and enforce the constitutions on the land and soil of this country. The bases have been covered. You have status, you have standing, and you have jurisdiction. And now what? The actual public law is enforceable locally and nationally within each state as a result of our efforts, but what else is necessary? Answer: actual people and courts to do the enforcement. So we have our Continental Marshals Service up and rolling in every state of the Union. These people are enforcing the land jurisdiction, which is international in nature, involving activities taking place across state borders. They are already sinking their teeth into issues like drug smuggling, human trafficking, interstate bank and foreclosure fraud, kidnapping, unlawful conversion, and more. They are already working with the U.S. Marshals and the constitutional sheriffs to put an end to these major international crimes that have afflicted millions of Americans, and they are already securing your constitutional rights. On the local level, we have our Constitutional Sheriffs Association, and more sheriffs are joining as it becomes clear that they have a public as well as a private duty to serve. Even though the corporations providing us with governmental services have contrived to protect themselves at our expense by unlawfully converting our public offices into private security positions, aka law enforcement instead of peacekeeping jobs, the people occupying those positions are waking up and making use of Sheriff Mack's hard work in the U.S. Supreme Court case, Mack and Prince v. USA, Inc., in which the court admitted that the right of all sheriffs, Leos or not, to enforce the constitutions. And they are biting back and bringing home the public law we are owed. What more needs to happen? The state assemblies need to fill their juror pools, organize their jural assemblies and state militias, and hold their public elections for actual state offices, beginning with their court officers. You can't enforce American common law without duly elected justices, clerks, coroners, sheriffs, and bail bondsmen. So, inform and educate enough Americans to get the positions filled and the job done. Bear in mind that peacekeeping officers, elected and commissioned, outrank all law enforcement officers on the land and soil of this country, so once you elect a sheriff to serve the soil jurisdiction of your county, he outranks any elected or appointed law enforcement officer, including any county sheriff, elected by U.S. citizens, people acting in a capacity as if they were born in Puerto Rico, or any citizens of the United States. People acting as if they were born in Washington, D.C. America still belongs to Americans. We just have to wake up and realize the lies that have been shoveled about us, and take action to repudiate those lies. And after that, we have to organize as indicated above, so that we are truly self-governing, again, upholding our own jurisdiction, and operating our government as it is supposed to be operated. We have figured it all out. We know what it takes to bring lawful relief and the actions we need to take both as individuals and as assemblies operating at both state and county levels. There's no more guessing or researching to be done about these matters, and no point in chasing around doing anything else any other way. We can't hope to get anywhere functioning as isolated grand juries, hanging in thin air, comprised of people who haven't even declared their political status as Americans. We can't hope to gain international recognition when we still don't know and demonstrate that we know how our own government is organized and what our jurisdiction is. We can't hope to get relief from these foreign courts operating as privateering organizations on our shores, until we have our own courts in place. This is what Milligan X Party is all about. When our civilian courts stand up, their quasi-military courts have to stand down. So what are we waiting for? The people organizing under the American States Assembly's program are doing it right. We have our status, standing, and jurisdiction lined out, and every day, we make more actual and factual progress. We are, right now, implementing programs for people to identify their private automobiles on the public roads with property plates instead of license plates. We are, right now, implementing a new ID system in which you will own your own alphanumeric ID code, and no longer be dependent on social security numbers and other identifiers that in fact misidentify you as foreigners merely residing in your own country. The American States Assembly has it together, and these other groups simply do not. So why waste your time and risk your freedom messing around with groups like the NLA and Michigan General Jural Assembly and chasing after relief that isn't ever going to solve the actual problems? Don't ask me about Phil Hudok. Show me the money and proof that this not just another Big Rock Candy Mountain story. Don't tell me about grand juries that aren't part of any actual court and don't even know what jurisdiction they are supposed to be operating in, which describes NLA, all these years later after its founding. Don't ask me to support groups like Michigan General Jural Assembly that don't recognize the necessity of declaring the political status of their members as American state nationals and organizing their actual state assemblies, of which the Jural Assemblies are merely one important, but not sufficient part. Status, standing, jurisdiction. The American States Assembly organization is the only group out there that has its ducks in order, that is already successfully enforcing the constitutional guarantees, and already taking care of the legitimate business of government, which is protecting your rights and private property. If you want to enforce your constitutional rights, if you want to protect your private property interests, if you want the wrongdoers arrested and held to account, then it is more than past time to stop running pillar to post among all the bad choices and failed organizations that are out there. Get your status straight, join your state assembly, and enforce your jurisdiction on the land and soil of this country. Don't waste time, money, or effort doing anything else.